And the river still shines and shimmers in the light as it did in our grandfather's day, when they rode all night to fish in the morning and lived in Willapa Bay.
Here. Hey, our next poet, I am so honored to introduce her. The first time she came, I got to hear her, and just once again, I was like, boy, the future of the talent is good here. I'm going to pronounce her name because it's so pretty. And now a cowboy may butcher it, but it deserves for me to at least try. And look it up in your program. Alana Kansaku-Sarmiento. Right? Is our next poet. She lives in Portland, Oregon. She was raised in Hawaii in 2016. She became a Bristol Bay fisherman, where she still is, and she hadn't missed a FisherPoets Gathering since. Welcome, Alana, to the microphone here.
Introduced by a legend. Thank you, man. I told him that he had full blessing to try to pronounce my name, even if he butchered it. So he has a pass. It was very, very close. Kansaku-Sarmiento. I love that. Thank you all so much for being here and for supporting the magic that is this tradition. I decided that tonight I'm going to read all of my earliest Fisher poems. I only really write for this event every year, so these are the poems that I wrote for the 2016 and 2017 Fisher Poet Gatherings. This first one is called She. I wonder why it is that almost every boat's a she, that female seems to be the natural gender of the sea, that yachts and skiffs and ships and boats of every kind, and even the water on which they float, are of a common sign. Perhaps it should be mentioned that the Latin word for ship is the female-gendered navis, so she rolls off the lip. Valid though the thought may be, the surface is not scratched. Much more can be discovered if we look under the hatch. In a trade that's been male-made for centuries on end, the answer lies with what's inside the hearts and heads of men. Let's name the boat after the goddess of the hunt or sea. For honoring her name, perhaps she'll deal kindly with me. Or as time passed on vacant sea with not abroad in sight, perhaps they thought for company they'd do just one thing right. When mermaids failed to soothe their eyes, they could still turn to one. The ship, as a mother or as a lover, could help them feel at home. So, far away, near shores unseen for months or years on end, the lonely, dirty, love-starved men would be aboard a friend. If the ship were named after a male, power would be the theme. But at some point, we all have learned no ship can e'er compete with the power and the depth and sometimes lack of empathy that the sea, another mighty she, displays for you and me. Perhaps they thought to name their boat something a bit more humble. A female ship on a female sea might keep them from the stumble. Perhaps it was that ships were known as crafted works of art, a thing of beauty and finesse, a labor of the heart. The female form is often known to be art-like as well. The curving form, her features soft, her laughter like a bell. Perhaps it was that if the ship were named after a woman, men would feel more duty then to keep her lines a-hummin'. For some believed that females needed the care of strong-armed men, and if they rightly take care of her, she'll bring them home again. Or perhaps it is that ships, by nature, for better or for worse, bring to mind the silent suffering in which our mothers are well-versed. That the wide and welcome spirit we bestow on every ship reminds us of the life that springs from many woman's hip. I do think it takes a woman's strength to handle the demand of keeping safe the hopes and dreams and gear of 20 men. For it's often only women during clear and present danger who work with the waves and tides instead of warring against nature. But times do change and roles do shift. Who stays on shore or sea? Women now take to the bow and join the company. Perhaps it is that lonely gals will fabricate new ships, and the painted names of Frank or Tom or Pa will guide their trips. You may think a woman's form is soft, but strength of mind is key. The last man standing in any fight quite often is a she. What a shame it took so long for women to sail out and join the vessels of their gender, squelching superstitious doubts. We should all be grateful, women and men alike, and everyone in between, for the trailblazing women of fishing who have passed on to us the light. And if 200 years from now, boats are no longer always she, I'm glad to say I'm sure we'll have great numbers on the sea. Thank you. This next one is, it's called We're the Coolest. There's a holiday that the Broderick family, John Broderick co-founded the FisherPoets Gathering, that they established in Bristol Bay at their set net location of Nushagak Point. It's called Fish Naked Day. And when they first started the holiday, the peak of the fish of the run, the sockeye run, was a lot earlier. So they would always celebrate on July 7th. And then as the runs got later and later, it became a lot riskier to fish naked on July 7th because sometimes you were like in the middle of the peak instead of like enjoying coming down from it. But now you know the backstory. The weather is cold as we disrobe. It's Fish Naked Day, or so I've been told. Excited I was all spring and summer. But when the day came, what a bummer. The weather is chilly. The water is gray, a little too nippy for some on this day. But talk comes cheap, and we women are proud, after months of big talk, giving up's not allowed. We grab ice from our tender, all clothing in place, then pull up to our nets, stony brows set in place. It is time, I declare. Taylor groans but commits as I begin to uncover my pale, frigid tits. Bare feet are set on the aluminum floor. Asses are bared to the Nushagak shore. A cold pile of gear laying lonely and stiff with the salt of our work in the bow of our skiff. We heave and we hoe as we pull up our nets, and others trade money from won or lost bets. Some drive extra far today as they pass us. Some drive extra close and put on their glasses. Wind and salt touch exposed shoulders and toes. Nothing but air covers us floor to nose. Our catch comes aboard as we haul up the mesh. Slimy fish bits cover our flesh. We laugh and we hunch our shoulders in tight to keep cold at bay as we sample our might. 40 minutes pass by. It counts, we exclaim, as we decide to put our clothes back on that cold day. A tip of the hat as a neighbor drives by. A gesture for ladies from the classiest guy. That really happened. Our skin all prickly from the cool Bristol air, we slip back in our gear, bums no longer bare. One thing we've discovered along with the bay, we're tough and we're bold despite cold on this day. So remember us when 7/7 rolls around. Get naked and fish, good catch will abound. Thank you. You should try it out sometime. It's totally fun. It's totally a good time. This next piece is called Seasons. Some seasons are marked by the changing of leaves or the falling of snow. Some seasons are marked by the packing of bags and new places to go. Some seasons last for years and are made of the same work or words or people or exhaustion or joy that you began with. Some romances have many seasons. Some romances are comprised of a single spring and 1,000 opened buds. Past seasons are for learning from, while the anticipation of future seasons drives us. Will this season hold a candle to the last? Could it possibly be better? Could it possibly be any worse? The first week of June is a tiny season in and of itself. I tie up loose ends. I make sure I have all the wool socks and cotton underwear I need. I kiss my current boyfriend goodbye. I eat my last mid-rare burger with fries. I double-check flight times. I go. The boatyard is home once again. Common colors of this season are gray and brown. The yard is filled with aluminum, gravel, and mud, filled with storage containers and hopeful fishermen, drunk fishermen, filled with people easing into a reduced hygiene schedule, filled with diesel and oil and wrenches and mending needles. We're all preparing for our favorite holiday this time of year, the opener. And then it comes. 'Tis the season to wet your gear, to make sure your boat still floats, and that the only holes in your net are the ones supposed to be there. And just like leaves change color without your notice until suddenly they're all on fire, the days grow longer and longer until you're at the peak of salmon fishing in Bristol Bay. 12-hour openers followed by 3 hours of travel and cleaning, followed by 2 hours of sleep, followed by 1 large cup of coffee, followed by another 12-hour opener, followed by another 12-hour opener, followed by another 12-hour opener. This season can't seem to decide whether it wants to be light or dark. Tempers flare, sleep is rare. Everyone has seen everyone else's ass bare. The bay seems to shrink with so many people hunting so many fish. But the fish, oh my God, the fish. Mercifully, the state finally decides to open the season without time limits, which means more sleep as it turns out. It also means that some boats are already deciding to pack it in. The captain is regularly getting at least 6 hours of sleep, so it's the beginning of the end. And why do we come back? Why do we fish? Whatever your reason, you might be a little sad to see the season wrapping up, but it's not the end, or it doesn't have to be. Seasons are cyclical, are they not? Time to go home, back to regular showers and Midwell burgers, back to sweaty pints and sweaty nights with the people you missed. In some ways, it seems like a dream. It's a good thing we brought back tokens, a filthy shirt, a fat check, some new scar, an ice chest of fillets. 'Tis the season to feast, to remember, and to look forward. But then again, isn't it always? Thank you. And this last one I'm going to read here tonight is called Home. The ocean is not my home, and yet she is like a mother to me. Home is where mother is. The ocean is not my home. I cannot, with my nostrils, my lungs, my mouth, my blood, pull the life-giving oxygen that my body needs from her waters, as some other creatures can. Creatures that do indeed call the ocean home. Creatures that live in a universe that exists on this earth, but is out of this world. A universe that our land-loving bodies cannot fully comprehend, but one intertwined with everything our land-born selves inherently know. That is, the cycle of life. Water, its foundation. From ocean to sky to ground to body to ocean to sky to ground to body. A universe that is foreign, that is dangerous, that repels me like a splinter out of flesh. A universe that draws me like a song. Deep space that lets you drift for hours on end, if, in fact, time could be measured in the void. A universe where gravity does not seem to exist until it pulls you with the warning of a perfect storm as you draw near those planets, those stars, those black holes. A universe in which you can drift for a lifetime, then suddenly be sucked into rock or flame against your will. A universe that tosses you with the gentleness of a rolling wave. A universe that gives life, that is the very dust of life. A universe that takes indiscriminately in its blackness, in its depth. The ocean is not my home. I am not a fish of the star or jelly or tuna variety. I am not an urchin crawling along the seafloor feeding on the decay of my world. I'm not a mollusk, soft-bodied and blind. I'm not a crab. I'm not a porpoise. I'm not a shark. I'm not a whale. I'm a human. Homo sapiens sapiens. I walk on 2 legs and I swim with the ease of a creature that was born to run. The ocean is not my home, and yet I am homesick for her. Thank you so much.
Now blow the gentle wind, or the dark blue